In this lesson, we will talk about data entry advanced application. First, let's take a look at the final results. Data entry advanced application include related data autofill, option item linkage, highlights the editing row, button of row addition or deletion, and the function of auto stash and clear. We will divide into 4 different parts, and first we will talk about the report design. Here is a report design sketch, which is about the business trip expense. The first part is personal information, and then destination, and the last part is expense details. First, let's design the report following the report designing sketch. Let's enter the title row. Here is a part of the personal information. And here is a part for the destination. The last report is about expense detail. Then we can add the data entry widgets. For ID, we use the drop-down box widget. For name, position, and department, it's auto-filled related data, so we don't need to add the widget. For province, it's also drop-down box widget, as well as for the city. For front end 2, we use date widget. In expense detail, for the date and time, we also use the date widget. Notice that we need to set the format for time to be hour and minute. For the purpose, we will use the text widget. And for expense, we are using the number. Then we can adjust the columns width. Also for the row height. We can combine the cells of titles and center line. Then we can select the report and add inner and outer border to it. We can change the border color to gray. And set up the background color and the font style. Then we are done designing the report. We can save the file by renaming it to Business Expense. Take a data entry preview. And the report is shown here. Then we are going to take a look at Section 2, Advanced Application. We have three parts: related data autofill, option item linkage, and button of row addition and deletion. Let's take a look at the related data autofill. Add a data dictionary for widget of ID in order to set up the choice in the drop-down box. Enter the formula for name, which the formula means select the full name of ID in B2 from the table employee information. This step helps us to autofill the full name of corresponding ID. Similar formula for position and department. Just need to change the variable names from full name to position and department. Let's take a preview. We can see when we select ID, the other three variables are autofilled. The next part is option item linkage. First of all, we want the city to be determined by the province we selected. Let's add a database query which selects a province and its corresponding cities. Then we add a data dictionary for the widget of province, so that based on the database query, the cities can vary according to different provinces. For cities, we add a formula for cities which makes the city vary according to the province we pick in B5. Check the validity and hit OK. We leave blank for display value means the display value is the same as actual value. And let's take a preview. And you can see when we select Fujian province, the cities will be the corresponding cities in Fujian. And when we pick Beijing, the city will also be Beijing City. Next, we will talk about button of row addition and deletion. On the cell E9, we add a button widget, and the type is insert. And we change the specific cell to A9, which means we are going to insert the row from A9. For F9, we add a delete button, and the specific cell is also A9. Change the column width to 5. A9 has to be a cell that is expandable so that we will be able to insert or delete rows. Then we change the expansion direction of A9 to vertical. Let's take a preview and we can see we can add rows or delete rows here. In the next section, we will talk about multi-source data entry. Multi-source data entry means the data we entered will be delivered to different data sets or data tables. For example here, the top half table of the business trip expense is using the table business trip record, and the second part is expense detail. Then we need to bind different data sets for these two parts. We pick the data entry attributes under template. We add a built-in SQL under submit, and we pick the corresponding tables, which is business record in FineReport. We pick Smart Add fields to select all the variables to set up the binding of cells. We select E2 to ID and province cities from 2, and we are all set. And we select employee ID and start time as the primary key. For the expense details, we will pick the data entry attributes and add one more built-in SQL. Pick FineReport and the table is expense detail. Similarly, we smart add fields and we pick all the variables and bind with the corresponding cells. The primary key should be the employee ID and the date time purpose. Thus, we can use one data entry report to write in two different data sets. The section 4 is about setting up the web attributes. The web attributes can set up the browse style and interaction of the data entry page, which including the following 6 parts. Let's take a look one by one. The first is display position. Under template web attributes, we can pick use server report setting or individual set for the template. If we pick server report setting, we can go to server configuration manager under server for further modification. Now let's go back to the template and we will try the first setting, individually set for the template. We can set up the sheet label page display positions to top or bottom, or report display location to left or center. The default setting is left. Now we can take a preview. And we can see the report is showing on the left. And we can change it to center. And we can take a preview. The report is now center aligned. We can also set up the background of the row that we are editing, so that if we have a lot of rows to edit, we will not miss that. We can go back to the data entry setting and check the box of set background of the row being edited. And we can pick the color light yellow. Take a preview, we will see that when we are editing one row, the background color will change to light yellow, which reminds us which row we are editing. Then we can take a look at the next setting. Here's a box called Unsubmitted Leaving Warning. We can check that box. It is when we are editing the data entry report. When we closed by accident, there will be a prompt showing that changes you made may not be saved. Now we can see that when we are clicking on the cells, a widget can show up. This might cause that we don't know which cell are used for data entry. Then we check the box of Display Widget directly. We can see all the cells with widgets are displaying. If you have some emergent situation, how can we temporarily save what we have entered? There is an option in Web Attributes as well. It is called Auto Temporary Store. We can check the box. Let's try to enter some random information here. And click on Refresh. All the information we just entered has been stored even though we refresh the page. And we can see there is a toolbar. We can edit the toolbar in the web attributes as well. For example, we just use Auto Stash. We can also use a button of Manual Stash and Clear. We can further edit the buttons if we double-click on the button. We double-click Stash and Clear, and that is added to the toolbar. Now let's take a preview, and here we can see on the toolbar there is Stash and Clear. When we click Clear, and we can see all the information we entered has been cleared. And now let's still enter some information. And click Stash. And let's refresh the page. And we can see the information we entered has been stored. Finally, let's walk through the data entry report design. We can see when we select ID, the informations are related autofilled, and when we select province, the corresponding cities will appear. And when we select the date, we can enter the purpose. We can pick the time as well. Also, for the rows we are editing, we can see there is a background color showing that this is the row we are editing. And when we leave the page, there will be a prompt. we can stash and clear. Now I'm re-entering the information. And we can click Add a Row. And we can also delete one row. And hit Submit, and it will show success. Finally, let's walk through the data entry report design procedure. The first step is the report design. We can design the report styles according to our prototype. For here, we can use with our datasets or without our datasets. Because our main purpose is to enter our data, but not search for the data. The second step is add report widget. According to data input, choose different widgets. This step is pretty straightforward. The third step is to set data entry attributes, which we need to bind cells with database fields. The fourth step is set web attributes, which we need to customize web preview effects and events. This step is optional. And the last step is the data entry preview. We can preview and enter data into the database. And that's all for the lesson about data entry advanced application. Thank you for watching.